Hair is culturally affiliated and associated with fertility and sensuality, and when portrayed as flying every direction, it becomes a visual indicator of the forces that will bring the couple together and then tear them apart and then wrap them back up with a little bit of, rave number 4 and seal them together permanently. So the hero's hair will blow off to the right. That signifies the winds of this big misunderstanding that are leading them astray and leading him to believe that the heroine is a money-hungry hoe. And really, she's a virginal heiress who rescues kittens and has starving orphans in her home all the time. And the heroine's hair, while the hero's will blow to the right, the heroine's hair will be still and quiet. And that signifies her unawakened sensuality and the depths of her sexuality that await vigorous plumbing. Of course, her hair is long and lush and free of snarls and perfectly obedient because, yeah, that happens. Yeah. And so is she most of the time. And her personality is limp and unexciting like her hair. Her ribbons in her hair, they will float eerily to the left. That is a signal. Despite her reservations and her distaste for his high-handed ways and his utterly autocratic, disgusting personality, she's ready to be led to the true passion of his deep rod of love. Now, so that's her hair. And in the background we have weather, because it's not ever like partly cloudy with a chance of rain in a romance novel. There's like epic storms. Because this is all the better to give the heroine a cold, which of course signifies instant and immediate death. Because anyone in a romance novel who catches a cold, that's like 3 chapters of drama right there. Nobody ever like has some NyQuil and moves on. It's like, oh my god, she's got a cold. So there's turbulent weather or some sort of natural catastrophe in the background. If the sky doesn't look like it's about to dump 5 different kinds of precipitation at once on our erstwhile lovers, then something else has to compensate in the background, hence lightning with John DeSalvo, a tastefully exploding volcano, crashing waves with certain images hidden within. The turbulence in the background has to mirror the alleged turbulence promised in the book, and the volcano not only indicates the passions and tempers that run hot, but its explosion promises a fiery culmination, if you catch my drift. Few things in nature are as subtly graphic as an exploding volcano. The only thing I have never seen on a romance novel cover would be Old Faithful. And if that happened, I would just have to like go lie down for a week and take some time off work, because that would just be unquestionably awesome. That would be great. I need to use the one connection I have. Number 3, an animal freaking out. If it's not a stallion, it's a swan. If it's not a swan, there's a kangaroo. If it's not a kangaroo, it's a pack of enraged dolphins. There is no passion like animal passion, and there's no squig like bestiality squig, so there's no squig like animals rutting and running and all kinds of mess in the background. Witness the impassioned flappings of a swan on any number of romance novels that came out in the late 80s. The beak says no, the wings say yes. You get the point. My favorite romance novel, the one that started me on the path to perdition that I'm on now, was Catherine Coulter's Midsummer Magic. I don't know if everyone has heard this story before. I apologize, but when I was in grade school, I was a late reader, partially because I have absolutely craptastic eyesight. So I was a late reader, and I was moved backwards in reading groups constantly, and I sort of got this into my head that I was kind of dumb because I couldn't pick up reading as fast as everyone else. So I had it sort of stuck in my head because, teenage girls are angsty, that I was sort of stupid. And I went to the library when I was in 10th grade, and the valedictorian, there were 2 valedictorians in my high school class. I married the other one. He's a guy. This one was a girl. And I didn't marry her because that's not legal in Pennsylvania. And she was in the library, and she was reading a romance novel. And I don't know if you've ever seen a romance novel published. I graduated in '93, so this was in like 1991. Romance novels published in '91 were about this thick, right? So I walk in, and she's reading this big, honking, thick book, and immediately I have an angsty, personal, tragedy-filled anxiety attack because she can read these big books, and she's valedictorian, and I'm not, and I read Sweet Valley High, and I'm totally lame. And so I work up like the one nerve that I have to ask her, what are you reading? And this, I swear to you, literally this is what she said. my god, it's a romance novel. You never read one. Oh my god, they're so good. You have to come over here. This is a rack. All of these are romance novels, and I've read every single one. And I totally dog-eared the scenes that you don't want to read because they're really bad. And so you read this one, and this one is about a girl, and she's cross-dressing as a guy. And this one, she is pretending she's a stable boy. And this one, they run away to piracy. Oh my god, it's so good. And she didn't breathe the whole and I'm kind of sorry I asked. So and I'm like, so what are you reading? She goes, oh my god, she's Scottish. And she like totally thinks that she's, gonna disguise herself as someone ugly, and he's not gonna marry her, but he totally does, and she's stuck. And so she goes to the ladies' room, and I pick up her book, and I'm starting to read it, and I check it out of the library and leave before she gets out of the library. And I stole it. And I still have it. Because her public library hates me. But on the cover of this particular romance novel is a heroine with bright red hair and a bright orange dress. And the hero is behind her, and it looks very unpleasant. And behind him is a swan, and it's literally coming out from behind him. And he's like, oh my god! So this is like my gold standard of the perfect romance cover, not only because it was the one that, introduced me to the genre, but it's one of the best bad covers ever. So when I talk about covers, this is like my gold standard of awesome, because there's orange and fuchsia and a swan, and he's behind her on a stone bench going. So swans, I'm big on swans. Dolphins okay, kangaroos okay, swans. So the fourth thing that you need in a really good romance novel cover, and the one that I just talked about does have this, it is a phallic monument or object. Cover artists are not permitted to advertise the masculine attributes of the hero, because that would be inappropriate. So they go for the second most obvious way, a big sword, or a large obelisk, or a sword-shaped obelisk, or something that's shooting white fire out of its tip, or some sort of hyperbole that's usually reserved for bad fantasy or science fiction. When it comes to an alarmingly unsubtle representation of the masculine romance novels are number 2 behind science fiction in terms of not really at all subtle imagery that is trying to be subtle. Hence, the manly hero will have a sword that's nearly as long as his mullet and twice as long as his legs. And the heroine will be pushing that sword very far away from her because, dude, that's creepy. And there's actually one of the worst covers I've ever seen is like brand new. It's so sad. I'm gonna get the cover wrong. I think it is Live Star, but it is Catherine, I want to say Asaro, and it is like if Frampton Comes Alive met YMCA and they did a really dirty tango with
I saw that at RT.
Yeah, with like a neon paint box. He's like wearing like a neon star-shaped bodysuit. He's got his head back and he's singing into this really unnaturally large microphone. And it's probably in here somewhere. Oh, I'm really sorry for her.
Oh.
So, number 5, location. Many an old school romance cover flitted from setting to setting to setting as if the Regency Miss and their rakish hero could charter a private plane at a moment's notice. And seriously, what would take like months and months of travel was one chapter. They'd go from London to Paris to Greece to a desert somewhere. Maybe it's Egypt, we don't know. Whatever the locales visited within the novel, all of them will be on the cover. Next to each other. This is the most deceptive geography ever. It's very bad. So like, the Parthenon will be next to a volcano, next to the Sphinx, next to the Eiffel Tower, which wasn't built yet. Seriously. And explosive passion, erect structures, this all feeds into the same theme. Number 6, chestices. The hero sports what we call the required hero uniform. Shirt unbuttoned, still tucked in, really big belt. I prefer it if they wear a belt like the movers wear to prevent their kidneys from coming out. That's particularly elegant. An excellent fashion statement. So at least a 10-inch wide belt. Because, no one ever has muffin top with those.